Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to tell you another strange and unusual story of the unexplainable, which lies behind the veil. Tonight's story is again based on one of those true but utterly unexplainable happenings which occur time and again from country to country and from age to age. George Bosworth was a modern man of his time in every sense of the word, and had his story occurred to another, he very probably would have been the last man in the world to believe a word of it. Hart Bosworth had had a busy day, and now, as the last customer left his shop, he prepared to close for the night. At this same moment, 150 miles at sea, George Bosworth prepared to retire, completely unaware of the incredible events which were about to occur.
Captain! Captain!
What is it, Mr. Bosworth?
Captain, I've got to get back to England immediately.
I'm afraid that's quite impossible, sir.
Oh, please. I'm afraid something's happened.
Are you ill, Mr. Bosworth?
No. Well, yes, maybe. I don't know. I can't explain, Captain, but I must return at once.
Mr. Bosworth, we're 150 miles from Dover, and I have a schedule to maintain. If I were to turn round and go back without good and sufficient reason, I would in all probability lose my position.
But this is an emergency.
There are rules and regulations covering all emergencies at sea. Perhaps if you could tell me why...
Well, I think my brother is... I can't tell you, Captain. It's terribly important.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bosworth, but I can let you off at Ostend. There you can make connections with another ship and be back in England by tomorrow morning.
What time will we dock?
We should be there within the hour.
I pray God, Captain, we're not too late.
Bullet wound through the arc, fired at close range. Man's been shot. He's dead right enough. From the looks of things, nothing has been taken except money. Cash drawers empty. Which leads me to deduce that the motive for the crime was robbery. Got that, Orton?
Yes, sir. I checked the Bosworth house. George isn't there. The place is shut up tight.
That's odd. Him and Art usually close the shop together. Are you sure you heard the shots at 9:45?
Right you are, Chester. 9:45 exactly.
Just a minute, Bertha. A little less familiarity, if you please. This here is official police business, and I'm here in my official capacity. Until I've solved this crime, I'll trouble you to remember that I'm a sergeant in Her Majesty's Constabulary.
Oh, I am sorry. From now on, I'll remember, Chester. Sergeant.
You may proceed, Mrs. Clink.
Well, I just put the kettle on. I always makes us a pot of tea in the evenings, just before retiring, as you might say. You know how Alfie likes to get to bed early.
Yes. Get on with it.
Well, I'd no sooner touched the kettle to the stove when I heard the shots. So I said to Alfie, that sounds like shots. And Alfie said no. So I said, to Alfie, Alfie, them was shots. And Alfie said...
Never mind what Alfie said. What did you do?
Well, the only light that was on was in Hart Bosworth's shop. So I run down here to see if he'd heard them too. Imagine me horror and surprise to find poor Mr. Bosworth lying there in a pool of blood.
Aha! And whose blood would you say it was?
How long would you estimate this was after you first heard the shots, Mrs. Clink?
Couldn't have been more than 5 or 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Clink. That'll be all.
But I haven't finished.
If you've anything more to say, you can make a statement at the police station.
But I know who done the murder.
Mrs. Clink, you saw the murderer?
Yes, I did.
I see. Now,
Just a minute, Constable. I'll handle this. Now then, Bertha, why didn't you give us this valuable information before this?
I was about to, until I was so rudely interrupted.
Are you insinuating that I was rude?
Sergeant, may I suggest? The murderer?
Huh?
The murderer?
Oh, yes. All right, Mrs. Clink. The name, if you please.
His name is Albert Ketch.
How do you know that, Mrs. Clink?
I saw him. Just as I got outside, I saw him run from this very shop, as though the old devil himself was after him.
Are you sure?
My sight's as good as yours, Chester Wilmore.
Sergeant, shall I round him up?
Why, yes, Constable, do that. And see if you can find out what become of George Bosworth.
Why not ask Mrs. Clink, sir?
I'm sure I don't know, Constable. But why not ask Miss Julie Westcott? She's his fiancée. She ought to know.
I'll do that, Mrs. Clink.
All right now, off with you. Home, all of you, if you please. This here shop will be closed till further notice. Move along, please. Now then, Albert, why don't you confess and save us all a lot of trouble? All nice and tidy, eh?
Because I didn't shoot Hart Bosworth, that's why.
Aha! How do you know he was shot?
You told me.
Oh.
What were you doing in the apothecary shop at that time?
Oh, I was there to collect a debt what was owed me.
What was the debt for?
Well, you see, I do a bit of carpenter work in my spare time, being handy with my tools, as you might say. And I built a set of shelves for Mr. Bosworth several weeks ago.
And it took you several weeks to get paid?
Well, there was a slight misunderstanding between us, as you might call it.
Aha!
That don't mean I killed him.
What was the cause of this misunderstanding?
While I was building the shelves, a case of his medicines got broke. Bosworth got terrible excited. Claimed I'd done it careless like. Said they was worth more than the shelves and he wouldn't pay me.
And so you killed him?
That's not true. I don't even own a gun.
A likely story. Why, I wouldn't be surprised if you wasn't doing a bit of poaching in your spare time.
Oh, it's a nasty thing to say.
Poaching's a very serious offence. I've a mind to enter charges against you.
Sergeant, this man's being charged with murder, not with poaching.
You hear that, Albert? The constable's right. Murder's the charge. Don't you try to throw us off the track with all this talk about poaching. Now, why don't you be a good fellow and confess and save us all this trouble?
Now, look here, Sergeant. I'd like to help you, really I would. But you know I'm not the kind of man who'd kill a chap in cold blood.
Albert Ketch, you're making it very hard for us. Very well. If you won't cooperate, we'll have to drag it out of you. We'll start all over again.
George, darling.
What's happened?
Come inside.
Something's happened to Hart, hasn't it?
Sit down.
No, tell me.
Yes, George, Hart is...
Hart's dead. Too late. I'm too late.
George, you were on your way to France. How did you get back so quickly?
I had a feeling something was wrong. Who shot him?
Who told you he was shot?
Do they know who did it?
The police have arrested Albert Ketch.
Albert Ketch? But he didn't do it.
Darling, I know this has been a terrible shock, but you weren't here. How do you know he didn't do it?
Julie, please, take me on trust for now. Albert Ketch had nothing to do with Hart's death.
Darling, you're upset. Why don't you lie down for a little while? I'll bring you some tea.
No, please, I've got to convince the police that they're making a mistake. They've no reason to hold Albert.
Darling, you asked me to trust you. I do. You know that. Can't you even tell me how you can be so certain?
Julie, have I ever shown any signs of insanity?
Of course not.
Well, I haven't told you yet how I came back so quickly or why. I never even got to France. Because on the boat I had a vision.
Of what?
The whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yes. I saw the murder being committed.
George, tell me exactly what you thought you saw.
Well, I was washing, getting ready for bed, and when I looked into the basin, I saw the apothecary shop. It was exactly as if I was right there, everything as clear as it is now.
You must have been dreaming.
No, I saw Hart by the shelves. And then I saw the murderer come in and shoot him.
You saw the murderer? Who was it?
I don't know. But it wasn't Albert Ketch, I'm sure of that.
George, you can't tell anybody this.
But I must. Ketch is innocent. Julie, you believe me, don't you?
Oh, what difference does it make whether
A great deal of difference to me.
George, I believe you because I love you. But if you tell this story to the police...
No, that's a chance I must take.
That's a chance you must not take.
But they'll hang Ketch.
Listen to me, George. There's nothing you can do. If Ketch is innocent, he has nothing to fear. But you... If you tell this fantastic tale to the police, you'll be ruined.
Julie, a man's life is in danger. How can I think of myself?
Well, then think of me. You know they won't believe you. At best, they'll call you insane. And how will I feel? Hearing people talk behind your back, pretending I don't hear them, whispering?
Julie,
Think
this
of
is not
Hart. You know how he worked to build up the shop. Will you let all his work go for nothing? Well, that's what'll happen. Do you think people will do business with a man who sees things?
I'm sorry, Julie. Whatever anybody thinks, I've got to try.
Very well, George. If you feel you must, I'll go with you.
No. There's no need for you to become involved.
Nothing back there, sir.
Oh. Well, in that case, we'll have to continue our search in here. Ah, Mr. Bosworth, sir. Allow me to offer my condolences in this horrible tragedy.
Thank you, Sergeant. They told me at the police station I'd find you here. May I ask what you're looking for?
Clothes, Mr. Bosworth, clothes.
And have you found any?
Almost. But don't you worry, sir. We have the fiend what done this foul deed.
If you mean Albert Ketch, Sergeant, he didn't do it.
Why do you say that, sir? Well, I ask you again. What makes you so sure that Albert Ketch is innocent?
I can't tell you, Sergeant. You'll just have to take my word for it, but Albert Ketch had nothing to do with it.
That's rather a large order, Mr. Bosworth. Asking us to accept your word without anything to back it up.
Mr. Bosworth, sir. I assume you can prove your whereabouts at the time of the crime?
Well, yes, I can. I was on a boat on my way to France.
Mr. Bosworth, who else besides yourself stands to inherit your brother's estate after his death?
Why, no one. I'm the only... Just what are you driving at?
Now, I'm sure the constable means no offence, sir, but let me fill you in on the facts. We have a high witness what places Albert Ketch at the scene of the crime. He had motive, he had opportunity.
Sergeant, have a look here.
Looks like an O.
It's a bullet hole, I think. Have I your permission to...
Help yourself, constable.
It's rather a small caliber.
As you say, very small.
I'm sure it comes from a derringer.
A derringer? Well, wouldn't that prove that Albert Ketch had nothing to do with it?
Why do you say that?
What would Ketch be doing with a little gun like that?
Mr. Bosworth's right, sir. It's hard to accept the fact that Albert Ketch would be in possession of a derringer. Unless it was deliberately given to him by somebody.
Now look here, Constable.
So you refuse still to tell us why you think Albert Ketch is innocent?
I can't tell you, Sergeant.
I'll submit a possibility to you, Mr. Bosworth. I'll submit it's possible you needed money badly enough to want your brother out of the way. I submit that your insistence on Albert Ketch's innocence may very well be more than just a desire to see justice done.
And what do you have to say to that, Mr. Bosworth?
Nothing. Am I under arrest?
Not as yet, but I shall have to ask you to remain within call.
Evening, Mr. Bosworth.
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Clink.
Alfie and me wishes to convey our sympathy for your bereavement.
Thank you. Shall we sit down for a minute?
Oh, yes, Doc. Thank you. He was a fine man, your brother. A fine man. Always willing to extend credit until tie-dye, and never too proud to step in and have a lift with us. And his scales was honest, too.
Yes, it was a terrible shock to me, Mrs. Clink.
I can well imagine, but never you fear. Albert Ketch shall get what he deserves.
Why is everyone so certain that Ketch is guilty?
Lord bless you. Who else could it be? I saw him myself.
You saw him?
Of course I did. Has nobody told you? That Chester Wilmore. I am the most important witness.
Are there any other witnesses?
Not a one, and no more are needed, I can tell you that. Of course, Miss Westcott might have seen the whole thing. Had she been there 5 minutes earlier.
Julie? What's she got to do with it?
Of course, she might have been killed if she had.
Yeah, but tell me, how does Julie fit into all this?
Well, I'd just stepped out of my house for a breath of air before putting the tea on for Alfie and me, when I sees Miss Westcott going into the apothecary shop. And it was hardly 5 minutes later when I heard 2 shots. I runs outside, and there goes Albert Ketch tearing down the street. Naturally, I got the police. And it was hardly no time at all before they had him clapped in the pokey.
Julie never said anything about it.
Oh, I dare say she didn't want to worry you. So it's the first time I've ever known her to worry about anyone.
What do you mean by that?
I'm not the one to talk about a body when they're not present to defend theirself. But everyone knows as how Miss Julie Westcott considers herself much better than us common folk.
What are you saying, Mrs. Clink?
It's truth. Ask any of the girls. They'll tell you. Her and her fine talk about position and money and station in life. But she wasn't fooling your brother none. No, sir. She wasn't pulling the wool over his eyes. Oh, you poor boy. I've upset you with me wagging tongue. Alfie always says I talk too much. But don't pay any attention to me. You better get home and get some rest. And I'll be saying good night.
George, darling, I've been frantic. Where have you been?
I've been walking. police think I'm involved in Hart's death.
George, are they mad? How can they think you had anything to do with it? They have the murderer.
No, they haven't. Ketch is no more guilty than I am.
Will you stop saying that? The police think he's guilty. Isn't that enough?
No. Why are you so intent on seeing him hang?
I'm not. I just don't like seeing you so upset, that's all.
Julie, was there ever any trouble between you and Hart?
Of course not. You know how fond of him I was. Except, well, he thought I was too ambitious, didn't he?
Well, Hart was an old-fashioned man. He thought a woman's place was in the home.
George, you know I only want what's best for you, don't you?
Yes, of course.
A woman needs security, a home, children, a husband she can be proud of.
I know, you've been very patient.
Well, not really, George. There were times during the last 5 years when I wanted to scream. When I wanted to say to Hart, why won't you pay George enough money so we can be married? He's earned it. He deserves it. But that's all over now. We can be married right away, can't we, George?
Well, once a decent interval has gone by.
Darling, we'll be so happy. Mrs. George Bosworth. I can't wait to see my friends' faces when I tell them. They didn't think it would happen, you know, really. They didn't think I knew they were snickering behind my back. As if I couldn't tell what they were thinking. That Julie Westcott, she isn't getting any younger. If George doesn't ask her soon, she may not get any more chances.
Aren't you exaggerating just a little?
Well, perhaps, just a little. Now, promise me you'll think only happy thoughts while I make us some tea.
Julie?
Yes, dear?
About Albert Ketch. I've been thinking perhaps you're right. There really is nothing more I can do. I'll see that he gets a good solicitor, of course.
That's very generous of you, George.
And as soon as I can, I'll put the shop up for sale. And then we'll be married and we'll move to somewhere... What's the matter?
What did you say?
We'll be married as soon as I can sell the shop.
You can't sell it.
Why not? Oh, I know how you feel, but I can't stay here where everything reminds me of Hart.
You don't know how I feel.
Julie, what's the matter with you?
Weren't you listening to me? We live here. Our friends are here. You're an important member of the community, and I'll be your wife, George. They'll respect us.
As long as we're together, what does it matter where we live?
I won't have it. The shop is doing well here. We have money and position. Do you think I want to start again at the bottom? Not knowing anybody, not being anybody? I forbid it.
Julie, you're losing your perspective. I welcome your help, but I must make my own decisions.
Welcome my help? Well, that's funny, George. Without me, there'd be no decision for you to make.
What are you saying?
You've had 5 years to make a decision, but your precious brother stood in the way. Well, I made it for you. He's gone, and I won't let you throw away everything I've worked for. George, listen. I did it. For you, for both of us.
How could you? Julie!
I wanted you. I needed you. Hart stood between us, and I couldn't bear it any longer. But it's all over now, George. He's gone. There's just the two of us. And we'll be happy, George. You'll see. George, don't leave me. Please.
I'm going to find Sergeant Wilmore.
George! George!
And so George, shocked and stunned as few men have had the misfortune to be, did his duty as he saw it. Bereft of brother, fiancé, he still had a life before him. Time would heal these scars, but But would it ever bring to him an understanding of how he could have seen his brother's death? I don't know. Do you? Please join me again for another journey into the world of the unexplainable, which lies behind the veil. Good night. Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to tell you another strange and unusual story of the unexplainable, which lies behind the veil. On the day our story takes place, John Prescott's problem was a very ordinary one. An automobile and the problem of getting it rolling. But as the hours passed, he found himself concerned with things not so ordinary.
Sorry. You all right?
I think so. I'll tell you more when I stop shaking. You did come around there awfully fast.
I didn't know what made me do it at the time. Now it seems like a fine idea. Trouble?
My car won't start.
Let's have a look at it. Turn it over. Battery okay. Nothing loose. Have you got gas?
Well, I should have. This gauge kind of acts up sometimes.
As you say, gas gauges act up sometimes. Bone dry. I'll push you out of the way and we'll go get some gas.
All right. No, I'm sorry.
No harm done. A little paint from your car scraped onto mine. It's my fault. I'll straighten out your license plate and we'll be wrapped and ready. LK 333. Meet 5H3872. That ought to serve as a proper introduction. Get in my car. I'll drive you to wherever you want to go. I'm John Prescott, from Boston.
I'm Lila.
Yes, sir.
stopping for?
A cocktail to settle my nerves, a little talk, a chance to get better acquainted, perhaps dinner.
No, I can't. I have to get back to my car.
Oh, nonsense. Nothing can happen to your car. As for us, who knows?
Good evening.
Evening. Martini?
Thank you.
2 martinis.
Yes, sir.
Does he know you?
Perhaps. I used to live around here.
No trouble, no complications, no husband in the offing?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Then let's have at it. The azure vault dares the assault of wings, and I, Icarus, am I. Thank you. To a lovely lady.
You have an easy way with words, John Prescott. A way uncommon with the Boston men.
Throwback to my great-great-grandfather, Miles Prescott.
A rider?
Ship's captain. He sailed for the Orient, but was believed lost at sea with all hands.
And was he lost?
To the family. 20 years later, he was found in Tahiti and refused to come home. That's better.
Gardenia's my favorite flower.
Compliments you, so. Milky white like your skin, warm like your eyes, yet so mysterious. So beautiful, it's almost unreal.
Let me talk to Morgan Debs.
Let's get out of here.
Well, I haven't finished my drink.
Please, we must go right away. Hurry, please.
What's it all about?
Later, let's just get out of here now.
Who's Morgan Debs? I heard the bartender ask for him on the phone. That's what panicked you, isn't it?
Yes, now can we please go? I'll tell you about him later.
Wait a minute. You were going to tell me something, but you haven't said a word since we left the cafe except pull in here. Now, what about it? You're in trouble, aren't you?
Yes, but there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Maybe there is. I, for instance, am quite a remarkable fellow. Tell me, who is Morgan Debs?
I can't talk about it here. Please drive away or I'll be in more trouble.
I don't see how that's possible. Look at you, you're scared to death. Now, calm down. Tell me the trouble. We can work something out together. Make up your mind to it, because I'm not leaving until you do.
All right. There's a road down the highway that leads to Lookout Point. I'll meet you there at 9 o'clock. Please be satisfied with that.
No brush off. Promise?
I promise faithfully.
All right, then. Lookout Point at 9 o'clock. You be there. I'm coming after you, Morgan Debs or no Morgan Debs.
I'll be there.
Good girl. You made it.
I said I would.
No trouble? You got your car all right? Where'd you park?
Do you mind if we sit quietly for a few moments? A great part of my life is wrapped up in memories of Lookout Point. Now I come back here as often as I can.
You're talking like a grandmother. I bet it wasn't too many years ago that you were giving the boys a bad time at high school dances.
And at college, wasn't I the one?
Is that where you met Morgan Debs?
No. Morgan's a much older man. I suppose we have to talk about him.
If I'm going to help you. And I'm determined on that point.
Then listen carefully, John Prescott. This spot, Lookout Point, was my favorite place in the world. It was here that I brought all my problems, and here that I came to celebrate my small triumphs. Then one night, something terrible happened.
Morgan Debs? You sit tight. I'll slip into my armor and go face the dragon.
Mr. Prescott?
Do I know you?
I think you've heard of me. I'm Morgan Debs.
I've heard of you. What are you doing up here?
Delivering a message, Mr. Prescott. The young lady you're expecting will not be here. She agrees with me it is advisable for you to go on your way and make no further effort to see her.
Why didn't the young lady give me the message herself?
As I said, she will not be here.
I don't know where you're getting all your information, but you're fouled up tonight. She's been here for the last 15 minutes. Lila? Lila? She was here minutes ago. What did you do to her?
Nothing. I haven't moved from this car, as you very well know.
You didn't have to. You've got a hold over her. She's scared to death of you. Why?
Steady, Charles. We have no quarrel with Mr. Prescott. Now, why don't you just drive on and forget what happened here tonight?
Why don't you tell me why I should? Now, remember, Charles, steady. A man can't lose a beautiful girl in the woods and just forget about her.
Even if I assure you that she's all right?
Then you do know what happened to her.
Yes, I know.
Well, at least tell me where I can reach her so I can call her or send a note or send flowers. I can't just run away like this.
I'm afraid you'll have to, Mr. Prescott. Now, so far, no harm has been done. But if you persist pursuing this matter, innocent people will be hurt. Now, you don't want that to happen, do you?
Of course not. But on the other hand, I don't want to go through the rest of my life wondering what this is all about.
I'm afraid you have no alternative. Now, just drive on. I'll take care of everything here.
Put me in an awkward position.
You put yourself in an awkward position. I'm trying to get you out of it.
Yes, sir?
My name is Prescott. I think I should report something that happened tonight. I was at a place called Lookout Point with a girl, and she disappeared.
Disappeared? You mean she ran away from you?
I don't know. I was sitting with her in my car when a man named Morgan Debs drove up. I got out to talk to him. And when I looked for the girl, she was gone.
Well, who's the girl?
Lila. I don't know her last name.
Did Morgan Debs know her?
He must have. After she disappeared, he told me to forget about it. But if something happens to her...
Well, what could happen to her?
I don't know for sure. But I'll tell you one thing. She was afraid of him.
Did she tell you why?
She was just about to when he drove up.
That's not much, Mr. Prescott. Morgan Debs is a powerful man in this community. I can't very well question him without something a little more substantial to go on.
Isn't it enough to know that she was afraid of him?
Well, I only have your word for it. If I could talk to the girl.
Can't you tell me something more about her?
She was beautiful, blonde, blue eyes, drove a red sports car. Her name was Lila, and she used to live around here. You ought to be able to recognize her from that.
Sorry, I don't. Maybe she was before my time. I've only been sheriff here a year. Where are you headed, Mr. Prescott?
I was driving home to Boston. But I don't think I should leave until I make sure that the girl's all right.
Well, you get her name, and I'll do what I can to help you. In the meantime, where will you be if anything comes up?
I'll be trying to help myself.
Evening. Can I help you?
Yes, I want to talk about a girl.
Well, a man that can't find time for that is a coward.
This is a particular girl. Blonde, blue eyes. Drove a red sports car. Stalled a few miles up the highway. She came here to get cash for it, remember?
Well, I should from that description. But there's been no girl here.
You sure?
Yep.
I left her here before dinner. Were you on duty then?
I'm on duty all the time.
Well, then you must remember her. You or somebody around here had to drive her back to her car with the gas.
Wasn't me. I wouldn't forget a dish like that. Besides, I haven't sold a gallon of gasoline since late this afternoon. And that was to a kid on a motorbike.
Thanks.
You must be doing something somebody don't want you to do.
Looks that way. Did you see who it was?
No. I heard a car, thought it was business, came out here and found you.
Did you see the car?
Just the taillight as it drove away fast. Whoever it was knew their stuff. You're not marked up.
Not so you can notice it. Do you know Morgan Debs?
Mr. Debs? Sure. If it wasn't for him, I couldn't keep this place open. You a friend of his?
In a way. At least I'm getting to know him better.
Sorry, mister, we're closed.
All I want from you is information. Remember me?
Can't say I do.
I was in here with a lady.
Could be. I don't see everybody. Bar gets busy.
We were here early. You wouldn't forget her. Beautiful, blonde. Who was she?
You say you were with her, don't you know?
I'm trying to be very patient with you. We sat right there, ordered 2 martinis. You recognized the girl and went to that phone and called Morgan Debs.
Who's Morgan Debs?
Quit clowning. The girl and I both heard you ask for him.
All right, so I called Morgan Debs. A lot of people call him. He's a big man.
The girl got scared when she heard his name. Why?
Why don't you ask Morgan Debs?
I'm working up to him. Right now, I'm asking you.
I don't know. Everybody has dame trouble sooner or later. Why don't you have a nightcap?
This is no dame trouble. This is a lady. Now, who is she and what is she afraid of?
I don't know.
Her first name is Lila. What's the rest of it?
I don't know, I tell you.
You knew enough to make that phone call. I'd suggest you tell me why you still can.
I can't, mister. I can't. Choke away, but I can't tell you. Kirby! Lila Kirby.
Does she live around here?
She did. A mile on the highway. Turn left.
That's better. Mrs. Kirby? I'm John Prescott. I hate to bother you at this time of night, but it's important that I talk to you.
About what, Mr. Prescott?
Your daughter.
Come in, young man. Now, what about my daughter?
I was with her tonight. She left me. Well, that is, we got separated somehow. I wanted to make sure she was all right.
Of course she's all right, Mr. Prescott.
John Prescott.
How nice of you to bother. She's up in her room.
May I see her for a moment?
Well, it's awfully late, isn't it?
Yes, and I apologize for intruding, but it's very important.
If you'll wait in the study, I'll tell her you're here.
You're a difficult man, Mr. Prescott.
That's what my mother always said. Beat him, she said, and he's stubborn as a mule. Wheedle him, and he's yours.
I'm sorry about the beating.
Very artistic job.
I told Charles to keep an eye on you, that's all. May I try a little wheedling, as your mother used to say?
It's too late for that. I talked to Mrs. Kirby. She's gone upstairs to get Lila.
She won't be back, and Lila's not upstairs. She's dead.
Dead?
She went off Lookout Point 3 years ago in her car. Was killed instantly.
That's impossible. I was with her tonight. I talked to her. What kind of a joke is this?
No joke, unfortunately. Here. Read those. Go on, read them.
If Lila is dead, who was I with tonight?
I think you were with Lila Kirby.
That's ridiculous.
I can't explain it. This is the second time she's reappeared. She seems to be drawn to Lookout Point, the scene of the accident.
And, when you get there, she disappears?
Yes. I was hoping this time would be the end of it.
According to these, you were with her.
Yes. Lila's impulsive. I was the guardian for her father's estate, and there were things I had to discuss with her. And the night in question, she didn't like the things that I was saying and started to drive away.
What about Mrs. Kirby? She's gone upstairs to get Lila. She is Lila's mother, isn't she?
Yes, and my sister. Lila's death was a terrible shock to her from which she hasn't completely recovered. That's why I want to keep the news of these reappearances away from her. Anything that reopened the tragedy to her might result in her becoming completely deranged.
I don't know. Maybe I am difficult, as you say. But it's hard to believe. Such a beautiful girl. So full of life. I met her this afternoon. Her car was stalled on the highway. Turned out she was merely out of gas.
What kind of a car was it?
A red sports car. Low, rakish. Just the kind you'd expect her to drive.
That's Lila's car, all right. But it's been lying at the foot of Lookout Point for 3 years. Hardly seemed worthwhile trying to have it towed away. Now you understand why I didn't want to tell you anything of this.
LK 333. Meet 5H3872.
Did John actually see Lila? How can we ever truly know? But of this we are sure. It is not the only case of this kind which has been reported. In my pursuit of these strange and unusual happenings, I've come across several other such occurrences. Experts have a name for this, but to define it is not to explain it. The explanation still lies beyond our present understanding. For how long? Who is to say? Please join me again for another journey into the world of the unexplainable which lies behind the veil. Good night. Good evening. Tonight I'm going to tell you another strange and unusual story of the unexplainable from behind the veil. Ever since man was first able to think, he has tried to find reasons for those happenings that he has been unable to explain. Our story tonight concerns the dark and violent circumstances surrounding one of the most famous criminals in history. George Durst was a normal citizen of his time, a man completely average in all respects but one.
I knew it. Tucked away down at the bottom of the page. Mr. Walter Durst will give the last of his lectures on clairvoyance tonight at the Cumberland Hall.
What?
The advertisement. So discreet it's practically invisible.
I thought it was quite tasteful.
I wish you'd let me deal with that side of the business. You have no head for publicity.
I had such an odd dream last night.
Not black horses again. I couldn't stand another funeral.
It was most frightening. I wish I knew what it meant.
Good heavens, they've discovered petroleum in Cheshire.
Judith, please listen to me.
Walter, I am sorry. I didn't realize you were so upset.
Last night, Judith, do you really believe I somehow have an ability to see into the future?
Good heavens, dear, we know you do. I mean, some people are left-handed, others have perfect pitch.
It's happened
and you
before, hasn't it? Time after time. The fire in the hotel at Bournemouth, the diphtheria epidemic.
Walter, what is it?
Judith, last night I saw murder done.
Why must it happen to me? Why not to someone who understands these things? I don't want it.
Now, Walter, don't be so foolish. We have to make a living, dear, and I'm not sure that you'll be very good at anything else.
I was so frightened last night.
Then why didn't you wake me?
I was so sound asleep I didn't like to. Just after I went to sleep, a most odd feeling, as though something were trying to get inside my head, something pushing and probing. And then an odd sound like nothing I'd ever heard before. And then the picture. Misty at first, the buildings all blurred. And then, all at once, it came quite clear. I was walking along a darkened alley in the East End. There was no sound. I could hear nothing but my own breathing. I wanted to save the woman, and at the same time I knew I couldn't stand to see what was happening. Suddenly I found myself outside some horrible drinking house. I remember hearing the ticking of a clock. I knew it was important to see the time. My body floated as though it were no more than mist, and the light at the corner of the lane seemed to draw me to it. I felt as if something were guiding me, begging me to look up at the street sign. Bucks Row. I saw it quite clearly, and yet I'd never even heard of the place before. I wish I knew what it all meant.
Darling, why should it mean anything? It's probably just an ordinary old nightmare after all that lobster you had last night.
No, there was such purpose to it, almost as though I'd been made to see it for some reason.
In the early hours of this morning, Timothy Durrant, a cart driver, was returning to his lodgings in Whitechapel when he saw what he thought was a tarpaulin lying in the gutter. Crossed the road for a closer look, only to discover that it was a woman lying there. A lighted match revealed that her throat had been cut. The body has been identified as that of Mary Nichols, 42, a woman of unfortunate reputation, who had last been seen alive but very drunk just before 2:30. The police surgeon has stated that in addition to the throat wounds which caused death, the body had been almost completely...
Does it say where it happened?
Yes. The body was found in Bucks Row. The doctor also stated that in his opinion, the crime had been committed by somebody with considerable knowledge of surgery.
Yes, the surgeon's knife, the scalpel.
And moreover, it was the same person who brutally murdered Martha Turner 3 weeks ago on the night of August the 7th. An inquest is being held.
All the details.
Walter, you've got to go to the police.
The police?
There can't be any motive for killing these terrible women, so the man is probably mad. Don't you see there may be more murders?
More dreams.
Walter, think what it would mean if you could go to the police and tell them exactly when and where the next killing would be.
No, I won't have any part of it. It's nothing to do with me.
Walter, that is a disgraceful attitude. The seeing of justice done isn't merely the business of the police. It's the responsibility of every member of the community. Why, it might mean the saving of countless young lives.
Oh, they were hardly young.
Walter, it is your duty to go to the police.
All right. I suppose you're right. As usual.
And, darling, think of the publicity.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good morning. I want to see someone about the Whitechapel murder.
What connection?
Well, it's rather a personal matter. I prefer to see whoever's in charge of the case.
Right. Your name, sir? Clairvoyant?
Yes?
You're new, aren't you?
I beg your pardon?
You haven't been in before?
No.
Oh. Well, Inspector McWilliam's in charge of the case. I'll tell him you're here. Let's see if you don't mind waiting a while.
I mean, all those people have...
A lot of money, sir. Brought them all out today. Gypsy Jim, One-Arm Nell, and the old lady with the crystal ball. She can tell us the identity of Jack the Ripper for a mere £50.
Jack the Ripper?
Well, that's what the newspapers have tagged him. Oh, we have them all, sir, especially on a case like this.
But, Constable, I assure you I didn't come here because of any reward. Last night in a dream I saw the exact circumstances of the Bucks Row murder. Several hours before it occurred. The time, the place, everything.
Now, sir, you look a nice, sensible sort of gent. You know, the wife had the same trouble. Wake me up in the middle of the night, she would, just to tell me about these here dreams, so I got her some stuff called slumber pills. Only a cheap medicine, you know, but efficacious. Very efficacious. Never had any more trouble with her since.
Thank you, Constable. I assure you will have no more trouble with me either. Good morning.
Emily, don't lag behind. I wish to see someone about Jack the Ripper. My little girl has some information I know will prove invaluable.
Have a seat,
It
Mama.
happened yesterday afternoon during my usual Tuesday seance. Emily was in rapport with Liate, her little Aztec friend, when suddenly there was a swirl of orange ectoplasm. A ghastly grinning face appeared.
Charlatans! Charlatans!
A city of millions, once teeming with life after dark, now becomes silent and deserted with the setting of the sun. Children are off the streets with the beginning of nightfall. Women go nowhere unless accompanied by their men. Doors are locked, windows boarded up. London becomes a city of panicking individuals, no man trusting his neighbor or friend. Newspapers demand in their boldest type the apprehension of this mad killer. The rewards mount. Every available police officer is on duty. Groups of men, self-appointed vigilante committees, hunt through dark streets and back alleys. But to no avail. The man they seek might well have been a ghost.
Again. Quite suddenly. I saw the body. He'd cut an ear off. It was lying in the gutter. I picked it up. You see, the blood's still on my hand.
Walt.
No, I won't wipe it off. They can see it at Scotland Yard. It's a manifestation. They'll have to believe me.
Walter, it's your blood. You must have
What?
dug your nails into the palm.
No. I saw it, though. There was a red flower in her dress. And she had a bunch of grapes. And she was still clutching the bunch of grapes.
My dear, you must eat something before you go.
Go? Well. Oh, no, not the police. They'd only laugh at me again.
Then we'll have our dinner and they can laugh at both of us if they want to. I'm coming with you this time.
First, please, thank you. 2 pennies. Yes, madam. First, please.
I think I've got some pennies. Change at Oxford Circus and take... What?
He's here. I can feel it. Somewhere quite near.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Jack the Ripper. He's here on this bus. Jack the Ripper. He's here on this bus.
Where?
I don't know. But I can feel the vibrations. It's the same man, the man in the dream.
Regent's Park.
Walter, are you certain?
Of course.
Then we must do something. Try to find him.
It's vanishing. It's fading away.
Regent's Park.
Walter, quickly.
What is Regent? No, Judith. It's madness. It's too dangerous.
There, going into the park. Walter, don't stop me. Which way did he go?
I don't know. I can't feel it anymore.
Well, try. Concentrate. You must.
It's no use. He's gone. It just isn't there.
Oh, he's so close.
Well, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Besides, it would have been madness. Now, I think we ought to go and tell the police.
Tell them what?
Why, that Jack the Ripper's in the park. They might close the gates.
Walter, sometimes I despair of you. Come on, we're going to Scotland Yard.
Oh, I didn't expect to see you here again, sir. I want to see Inspector McWilliam, isn't it? He's busy. We're trying to find someone called Jack the Ripper. Perhaps you've read about it. A constable.
Walter, let me. Constable, today is the 30th September.
It is?
And it may be remembered as the day that Jack the Ripper committed his 4th murder. That is, if you just stand there and do nothing to prevent it.
Ma'am, I have my orders, that's all. But please, you must let me see the inspector now. This afternoon, I had a vision of a murder that I know is going to take place tonight. You must understand, we can stop it, otherwise the blood will be on my hands as much as...
Walter, what?
So a woman will be found dead tomorrow, with her ear severed from the head. What did you say? I saw it in the dream. The ear was lying beside her in the gutter. Constable, this way, ma'am. I'm Inspector McWilliam. What's all this about a dream? My name is Walter Durst. I'm a professional clairvoyant. Perhaps my card will do. And what did you dream? Well, I imagined I was walking along a lane in the East End. There was a woman, her throat had been cut, and the ear was lying beside her in the gutter. It's not the first time, you see. The night that Mary Nichols was killed, I saw it just as it happened. The time, the place. When did you send the note? What? The note you received this morning. Oh, I haven't sent any note.
I have been here before. The constable will tell you.
I'd like a specimen of your handwriting. Sit down, Mr. Durst, will you?
Oh, I don't see what my handwriting's got to do with it.
Please write.
Well, what shall I write?
Just 3 words. Dear old boss.
Dear old boss. I wish you'd explain.
Mr. Durst, you didn't by any chance dream the location of this murder?
No, not this time, but I'm sure
What do you mean,
can
not this time?
Well, I told you, the other dream, the night that Mary Nichols was killed.
But you didn't write to us last time.
I don't know what you're talking about. Then you must believe me, Inspector. I told you that I saw it.
No one knew of this letter except the men in my office and the man who wrote the letter. Did you write this letter?
No, I didn't write it. I didn't. Judith! Judith!
You will be kept in custody until we can make further investigations in the morning.
Please let me go. Don't you see what you're doing?
That's enough, that's enough. Come on.
But the woman, I saw what he did to her. You couldn't tell it was a human face. You could save her.
Perhaps I have.
Please. Please let me help you.
Aye, Constable.
Well then, God help you. What time is it?
Are you still awake?
The time, please. They took my watch away.
Oh, I don't know. It's a bit after 1. You'd better get some shut-eye.
Not this night. Tell Inspector McWilliam to have a good night's rest. Tomorrow he may not sleep quite so easily.
All right. They want to see you at the yard. Can you hear me?
God forgive them. Forgive them. So it happened. And it was in your power to save that life.
2 lives. 2 women murdered within an hour. One in a yard at the back of Berners Street, the other in an archway off Mitre Square. Both of them hacked to pieces. You were right in every detail. Every man available was on duty in the East End last night. And every suspect we had was under lock and key. It's impossible. Yet it happened. It's impossible.
But you knew. How?
That's a question I've been asking myself all my life, Inspector. Perhaps the answer will come later.
I trust, sir, that you will accept my apologies for what happened last night.
Inspector, I owe you my supreme gratitude. This was no imprisonment. It was a release. Until last night, I've been afraid of this gift I have. Ashamed because I was not quite normal. My wife had to have my courage and my convictions for me. Now I know this power was given to me for a purpose. Respect must be paid to it, and to me.
I wish to heaven I'd believed you last night. Should you dream again, of course I shall act immediately.
We can act now.
Walter, last night?
No, this was no dream. But I can find Jack the Ripper. Probably tonight.
This time I shan't even ask how. Every policeman in London is at your disposal.
And that won't be necessary. Shall we meet at my house at 7 o'clock?
At 7.
This is where the Ripper lives.
G.R. Willerton, FRCS.
Do we knock?
I don't know. I don't think we can wake them at this late hour.
This is where he lives.
It's incredible. A large house in Harley Street, FRCS.
Fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons. Inspector, there's a dog lying at the foot of the stairs.
Seems to be light on, sir.
Hagen. Hagen, be quiet. Stop barking. Yes, what is it?
We're from Scotland Yard. I'd like to speak to Mr. Willowden.
Who is it?
Mrs. Willowden?
Yes?
I'm Chief Inspector McWilliam, Mr. Durst. I'm sorry to disturb you so late, but we should like to ask you a few questions.
I must ask you to leave. It is very late.
Mrs. Willowden, this concerns the Whitechapel murders. It would be very easy for me to get a search warrant.
The police?
Mr. Willowden?
No. My name is Hatherley. I'm Mrs. Willowden's doctor. May I ask the reason for this visit?
I would like to see Mr. Willowden.
That's impossible.
Will you come into the library, gentlemen?
All right, Constable.
The funeral is tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Willowden. When did this happen, Doctor?
Cerebral hemorrhage late yesterday afternoon. You can understand why Mrs. Willowden is very distressed.
I should like to see inside.
Inspector, this is outrageous. I insist you take your men and leave this house instantly.
Did you sign the death certificate, Doctor?
I did.
May I see it, please?
It's not here. It's at my surgery.
Why did you come here?
We have reason to believe that your husband knew something about the Whitechapel murders.
Why?
I am not at liberty to say.
You think he's Jack the Ripper?
Mrs. Willowden, I'm here to ask questions, not make accusations.
Well, this is a strange...
Did you notice anything unusual about your husband's behavior these last few weeks?
Mr. Willowden has been
I'm
ill some...
talking to Mrs. Willowden. Will you please answer my question?
You know, don't you? You know.
Myra.
Of course they know. Don't be such a fool. Why else would they have come here? They followed him. They saw the blood.
Blood? Mrs. Willowden is hysterical, you understand?
What blood?
He was wearing his new coattails, wasn't he? I was standing on the stairs when he came in. The blood. All over his white waistcoat.
Myra, I beg you.
It doesn't matter now. I don't want the secret any longer.
Why didn't you tell the police?
He was my husband. I loved him very much once. He was so gentle then. Seems quite a long time ago when he had to give up the practice. It was terrible seeing the change in him. I wonder what made him do those things. One day I heard Pagan screaming down here in the library. He wasn't allowed in here at all. When I came in, he was sitting just over there, biting at his paw. There was a hatpin right through it. He used to love the dog so much, too. And there were the bats. You know that he paid boys off the street to catch bats for him. They'd bring them in a bag to the back door. I saw once what he did with them. He dipped them in paraffin and lit them so that he could see the poor burning things go flapping round his head, and he'd clap his hands and laugh like a child. Then at night, he began to go out.
So, the funeral is tomorrow?
Yes, to all intents and purposes. The obituary notice has appeared in the Times, and a few relatives have been invited to a simple service in the morning.
Where is he, Doctor? A certificate of insanity?
Yes, Willowden was sent this morning to an insane asylum outside Edinburgh.
May I keep this?
You will find it registered and in order. You realize what this means?
Yes, of course.
Yes, once certified and committed to an institution, a person is beyond the jurisdiction of the courts. Not even the law can touch Willardon now.
Well, there's nothing more we can do.
No, it's better. We should never know. And now, if you'll excuse us, Inspector, it has been an agonizing ordeal for Mrs. Willardon, and she has to rise early in the morning for the funeral.
Inspector, is it a terrible thing to hope? There will be more murders in Whitechapel.
Dr. Willardon was beyond the reach of English law. His guilt or innocence could never be proved. But strangely enough, the slaughter in Whitechapel ended that night. Jack the Ripper never claimed another victim. But what of Walter Durst? How does one explain his gift of precognition, his ability to foretell the future? How could he foresee in such detail the victims and the circumstances surrounding their deaths? He'd never seen any of the women involved. He'd never even been to the places where they met their death. And most of all, how was he able to lead the police to a man he did not even know existed? There is no explanation known to us, but this we do know. On that night, over 70 years ago, ended a reign of terror unlike any known before or since. Please join me again for another journey into the world of the unexplainable, which lies behind the veil. Good night. Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to tell you another strange and unusual story of the unexplainable, which lies behind the veil. Down through the ages, man has continually struggled to pierce the veil, behind which lies the unbelievable. Many things which were completely beyond our comprehension as recently as 100 years ago are readily understood today. Maybe not then assume that happenings for which we have no explanation now will in time be understood by those who follow after us. Our story tonight is again based on an actual account from this dark world which lies beyond our knowledge. Edward Page, like almost everybody else in New York, was not concerned with anything more profound than the ever-present, oppressive summer heat.
Good evening, Mrs. Foley.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Page. Oh, it's awful hot, ain't it?
It's the humidity, Mrs. Foley. That's what's bothering you, the humidity.
Maybe, but this heat ain't doing me much good either. Probably gone to put on soup for his supper again. Always hot soup. Oh, in weather like this, too.
No, don't do that. It's murder. I saw a man kill a woman.
Where?
Apartment across the way, 3rd floor back on the corner. I gotta get the police.
Murder? Police?
You sure that's the right apartment?
I'm positive, Lieutenant. It's empty. The woman, she isn't here.
Maybe it's the wrong apartment, huh?
No, it's the right one. There's my room right opposite this window.
Look around you, Page. There's no body, no sign of a crime.
I don't care. It happened. I know I saw it, but I don't know what happened to the furniture. Please, Sergeant, I know I saw it. The woman was blonde. She was brushing her hair. It was very pretty. She fell right over there. The killer was hiding right there. He wore shiny black leather gloves, and he had this flashlight, and he came up behind her, and... I know what you're thinking. You don't want to believe me, but I'm not lying. I know I saw it.
Sure, you saw it. But now we gotta figure out what happened. Let's go over to your room. There must be some mistake.
There's no mistake. While you're doing all this, the killer's getting away. I can describe him for you exactly. With a description, you could catch him.
And charge him with what?
Murder and robbery. He robbed her purse and he took the jewelry out of the box. It was right there. Her purse was on the couch.
Let's go back to your place, huh? We'll leave the lights on in here so we're sure we get the right apartment.
That's the one. See where you left the light on? That's where I saw the woman. She had on a pale blue dressing gown. Please, Lieutenant Davis, say you believe me. Say that I really saw what I saw.
Mr. Page, it's been a hot day. Now, you were tired, what, with just coming home from work and all? You heard what the janitor at the apartment house said? No blonde. And nobody in that apartment for the past month. It's for rent.
I saw it.
You didn't eat your dinner. Lots of times I get lightheaded when I'm real hungry. Now, why don't you be a good fellow and sit down and finish your dinner and you'll forget all about it. You'll feel better. We better get back.
What about a report? Do we make one up?
Yeah, I suppose we'll have to. Just say that it's been a hot day, blame it on the heat.
It's not the heat. I saw it. If you won't believe me, I'll find someone who will. Calm down, Mr. Page.
What's going on here? What are you doing to Mr. Page?
Tell him, Mrs. Foley. Tell him that I saw the murder, that I really saw it.
But I didn't see it.
Let me go. I got to tell someone about the murder. Find someone who'll believe me.
You better come along with us, Mr. Page. We'll talk it over.
I beg your pardon. I'm trying to find the apartment that's for rent. 345 48th Street.
Oh, it's in the next block, honey. Right back of this building.
Thanks so much.
In the next block, she wants an apartment.
Now tell me the whole story, right from the beginning, everything that you can remember. I'll record it.
All right, sir. I came...
Not so close to the microphone, just as though you were talking to me.
Yes, sir. Well, I came home with my groceries. Soup. I always have soup. I like soup. And Mrs. Foley that's my landlady. She was sitting on the front steps. She looked awful. She always does. Well, she complained of the heat. And then I ran out of the room to get the police.
That's all?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Page, you have an amazing eye for detail and the most retentive memory.
Doctor, when it's murder, you see, you remember.
You keep on using the word murder. Now, how do you know the woman was dead? She was hit on the head, that's true, but she might only have been unconscious.
She must have been dead. He hit her hard. It was a flashlight. Doctor, when can I get out of here?
I'll send you home as soon as possible. What sort of work do you do?
Well, I'm just a shipping clerk. But they count on me. I keep track of things. Mr. Wonder, he's my boss, says I have a fine memory, like you said.
You can go back to your room now, Mr. Page. And you won't need any more sedation. Send Lieutenant Davis and Sergeant Fenton in.
Morning, Doctor.
Morning.
Lieutenant, Sergeant.
Page come out of it yet?
I'm afraid Page isn't going to come out of it, as you call it.
Well, that's too bad. He's a nice little guy.
Nothing for him to come out of. He's as sane as you and I.
Wait a minute, Doc. Suppose you speak for yourself.
There's no form of dementia that I've ever seen or studied. I'm convinced that Page saw something real.
I've been around a long time, Doc. Some guys sit around looking in other people's windows. Well, they see quite a bit. But most of it isn't murder.
Page didn't seem like that kind of man. He was worried and scared by what he saw.
I don't think he's that kind of man either.
Page is an oddball. He doesn't add up. Everything says he's honest. And he tells us a story we can't believe.
We'll keep him here a little longer. I'll run some tests on him. I've never seen a case like this before.
It's your worry, Doctor. Ours is over. We go on the facts, and there aren't any in this case.
Doctor, what am I going to do?
Try to forget it. Go home. Go back to your job.
I guess that's the only thing to do. If you can't tell me what I saw, how can I figure it out?
Lieutenant Davis, homicide. Go ahead. And what's the address? Would you mind repeating that address, please? What's the apartment number? Hey, we're on our way.
What's the matter, Lieutenant?
That murder Page told us about just happened.
Dr. Mason, please.
Blue dressing gown. She was brushing her hair. It's real pretty, too. Fell right there.
Oh, Dr. Mason, this is Sergeant Fenton. Lieutenant Davis would like to know when Page was released. Oh, I see. He was released over 3 hours ago.
I want him picked up fast. 2 African masks over the fireplace.
Sergeant Fenton.
Hang up.
I'll call you right back.
He just came in and turned on the light. Go over there and get him. Tell him nothing but bring him back here.
Lieutenant?
Hey, Doc.
Hot night. Miserable weather. Good-looking woman. Usual blunt instrument.
How about a flashlight? Ever hear of a murderer describing his crime to the police before he commits it?
Sure thing. Makes a killer a big man. Dare you to catch me kind of thing.
I wish this were that simple. The only trouble is he described the furniture in here ahead of time. There was no way he could have seen it.
Sound like you need some salt tablets. This heat's murder. Yeah, there's nothing I can do.
I'll send the boys up.
It happened. Just like I told you.
That's right, Paige. Just like you told us.
Everything's the way I saw it.
You left the hospital 3 hours ago. Did you come right straight here?
I walked for quite a while. I just got home.
I don't mean that. I meant here, this apartment.
Why would I come here?
Nobody believed you when you told us the story about the murder. This upset you, made you mad. You decided you're going to show us. You came home, you saw the apartment was rented, so you came over here and you killed her.
No, I didn't come over here.
Paige, why don't you make things easy for everybody? We both know you can't see a killing, and then suddenly 3 days later it happens.
But it did. I described the killer for you.
And the killer is you. Quit stalling. Why don't you admit what you did? Tell us what you did with the flashlight and the gloves you used.
Lieutenant Davis, these bills, they're for this furniture. From 3 different stores.
Sergeant, let's stick to what we're doing. There's no other answer. Paige, you killed her.
But Paige described this furniture before the woman even bought it. And she was in Chicago 3 days ago. She's never been in New York before in her life. How could Paige have described her?
I'm willing to admit I can't explain how he could describe the furniture or the woman. But I do know how he had a chance to come over here and kill her.
But I didn't, Lieutenant. I didn't kill her.
If we don't all keep calm around here, I'm the one that's going to wind up in Bellevue. Let's face it, Paige.
You could have prevented all this. If you guarded the apartment, you might have saved her life.
Nevertheless, you're still my #1 suspect.
I saw the killer. That means you can find him. I gave you a description.
I know I have. But it's not enough. Let's get out of here.
Nothing, Sergeant. Nothing so far.
It's a tough job looking through all those pictures, Mr. Page.
You get so they all look alike.
Stay with it.
It's a pretty good description you got out of him, Doc. Better than I could do.
Very few witnesses have the power of observation that Mr. Page has.
I'll say that for him. He saw plenty. It's still not enough.
How about the way the crime was committed, the nature of it?
Oh, it's pretty standard. Look for an open door, rap on the head, take the valuables. A dime a dozen. It's the smart ones we nail. The ones that figure out their own clever way to commit a crime. Well, if that's all the help you can give us, I guess it'll have to do. Let's see how they're doing in there.
That might be. The face might be the same. I don't know. The nose isn't the same. Up there at the bridge, the killer's nose was flatter.
That's Ben Burton.
He's out of circulation. He's got 5 years to serve before parole.
I don't think it's any use.
Of course it's some use. A woman's been murdered here. Let's start all over again.
Now, gentlemen, please relax. Now, there's a very good idea. Let's all have a cup of coffee, and perhaps it'll clear our thinking. Now, Mr. Page, you've been most cooperative, but if we could help you to remember just one more thing.
All right, Doctor.
When you saw him hit her, what did you do?
I hollered. No, don't do that.
Did he hear you?
Well, no, he couldn't hear me because the window was closed and his ear... Wait a minute. His ear, his left ear, it was, what do you call it? Prize fighters have them.
Cauliflower ear?
That's it, his left ear, he had one.
That does it. That's what I need, something to work on. Come on, Fenton, we'll get out the new description. This time we'll add a cauliflower left ear.
Well, Mr. Page, I think you can go home now.
I'd rather not. I couldn't sleep now. Not until the job's finished. I need to talk to that man.
It may be some time before the police can find him.
I'll wait a while. It'll be easier. You see, Dr. Mason, you want to know what this is about because you're a psychiatrist. But I have to know just to be able to live with myself. Found a man who...
He matches your description exactly. Everything is the same.
Can we see him?
As soon as Lieutenant Davis sends for us, he wants to question him first. We're holding you as a surprise to force him into confessing. You see, actually, we have nothing on him except your testimony. We have to prove that he killed that woman.
Yes, of course.
When we go in, don't say anything about
seeing it before it happened? Don't worry.
Like I said, cop, I don't know what you're talking about. Either book me or turn me loose. You won't hang it on me with a witness. You need more than that, and you know it. You'll need the stuff that was stolen and maybe even the weapon the guy used.
Yeah, you're right. I need all of that. And you're going to tell me where it is.
Okay, so stop talking and show me. Bring on your witness. Let's see what you've got.
Don't go away.
Don't worry. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
That's him. That's the man.
That's him. That's the man.
Sit down, Kerwin.
See? See the ear?
Tell him, Page. Tell him what he did.
He knows. But he doesn't believe I saw him, is that it?
That's it, Dad. I think you're a liar, looking for a big charge or something.
You wore shiny black leather gloves, dark gray pants, and a dark blue shirt. No hat. You hid behind the chair when the woman came into the room. She was blonde and very pretty. She wore a blue dressing gown, light blue. You had a flashlight in your hand. You hit her and she fell. The hairbrush fell, too. You turned and took the jewelry out of the jewelry box, stuffed it in your pocket, went over to the couch, emptied her purse, and you left.
It's a frame-up. Nobody see me do anything. You're trying to scare me. This guy's a fake. You brought him in just to work on me.
The arm. When he put his left arm around her neck, she bit him. That's why he rubbed his arm. Maybe the bite mark's still there.
Roll up the sleeve, Fenton.
It's there.
I know. You didn't mean to kill her.
Well, she caught me in the room. I couldn't get out.
Take him away, Fenton. Try to forget it, huh, Page? Go back to work and stop thinking about it.
Are you going to stop thinking about it, Lieutenant?
No, I guess not.
Edward Page returned to work 2 days later, but he was not, nor would he ever be, the same man who left work such a short time before. Page's experience was an example of what is defined as precognition, the ability to foresee the future. Throughout history, there have been many such instances, reported and documented. How does it happen? Why? I'm afraid the explanation is still beyond our understanding, at least for the moment. Please join me again for another journey into that real but unexplainable world which lies behind the veil. Good night. Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to tell you another strange and unusual story of the unexplainable which lies behind the veil. The mysteries of the East have always been a source of wonder to Western man. Our story tonight takes place in India and is based on a true and authenticated incident. Santha Naidu was born of average Hindu parents, but the time in which he lived was far from average. It encompassed a major social upheaval and a world at war. Yet even had these events not taken place, her life could never have been a normal one. Santha Naidu from birth was a child apart. A beautiful young woman died in August of 1927. Her name was Sita Vernoy. A beautiful baby girl was born, also in August, in the following year, 1928. Her name, Santha Naidu.
Rama, come in.
Forgive me, Madame Naidu, but I would like to talk to you about Santa.
Of course, Rama. Sit down. May I get you something to drink?
No, thank you. Madame Naidu, You must know how I feel about Santa.
And she about you. You are one of her oldest friends.
I remember the day your son, Carla, first brought me here. May his soul be at peace.
Santa was just a baby. Since the death of Carla, she regarded you as her older brother.
That is what I wish to discuss. I've watched Santa grow from a child to a young lady. And you know, I would do anything to make her happy. I'm not the wealthiest man in Delhi, but my prospects are good. And Madame Naidu, I would like your permission to marry Santa. Have I said something wrong?
Rama. Rama, this is a day I have prayed for, yet feared would come.
I do not understand.
Rama, if I were to say to you, Santa is already married with a son.
You mock me.
Not in this life, in the previous one. Rama, are we not taught to believe it is only the body that dies at death? That the true self is in time reborn?
Of course.
Once, in a very great while, one is born with memory of a previous incarnation. And I'm afraid Santa is such a one. And the love she bore for her husband and son remains as strong as ever.
To remember another life. But how can this happen?
Who is to say? Perhaps it is proof that Nirvana is within reach of all.
Why was I not told of this before?
It's not something one speaks of freely. Not even to one as close as you. Oh, Rama, listen to me, my son. For her 5th birthday, I made her a little cloak, the color of flame. She cried when I put it on her. Why? Because she said because her husband wished her to wear only blue.
A 5-year-old child.
I put the cloak away, Rama, and then I cried because I knew nothing but sorrow would come of this.
Are you saying she knew all this even then?
No, not all. It came slowly. She recalled his face, their home, Mutra, where they lived, her son, and yesterday the name of her husband, Verneuil, Armand Verneuil.
And now, what happens now?
I'm preparing. Tomorrow we leave for Mutra.
Rama! I did not know you were here.
I wish to speak with your mother.
What is wrong?
Santa, Rama has come to ask for your hand in marriage.
Rama, have you told him?
Oh, Santa, you cannot really believe all of this, eh?
It is true, Rama. I have a husband and son.
But even if it is true, your husband will be an old man by now. And your son, he could be older than you are.
It will be as you say. I have been away too long.
Nothing but tragedy can come from this, Santa.
It is the will of our Lord Krishna. And my name is Santa no longer. I am Madame Sita Verneuil. And my husband has need of me. Forgive me, Rama. I must make ready for my journey.
Madame Naidu, this will not be a journey for 2 women alone.
You love her so much. We would welcome your company.
Wait here. I'll get the
But
cab.
there's no need. My husband's house is not far.
You know exactly where it is?
Of course. It is the first house beyond the Curzon Museum on High Street. Armand chose it himself to be near his work.
Santa, I would like first to say thanks for our safe arrival in your place, and to pray that all goes well with you now.
Very well. The temple of Dakashish is on the way, in the street of the silversmiths. I prayed there every night to the Lord Krishna, that he might send me a son, and he answered me.
Your son. What is his name?
What a question, Rama. How else could I thank him than to give his name to my child?
Therefore, my dear Professor Goncourt, we are pleased to accept Krishna Vernoy as a student at Columbia College.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Isn't that wonderful, Father?
Yes, my son. Please let me know when you expect to arrive in New York with him, etc. We are old friends, the Dean and I.
Very good ones. When will we leave for America?
In a couple of weeks or so, I should say.
How will we get there? I don't suppose we can go by way of the Pacific because of the Japanese.
Krishna.
Yes, my father.
Professor Goncourt just arrived in Muttra. He wanted you to have this news at once. But now...
Forgive me, Father. And you, Professor. I know you must have much to say to each other, if you'll excuse me.
Thank you, my son.
You will permit me to join you again later. I have so many questions.
Of course. À bientôt.
Oh, mon vieux, what is the matter?
Nothing.
It is not like you to receive good news with such displeasure.
I didn't expect you so soon. I thought it would be another few weeks, a month perhaps.
You worrying about sending him so far away?
I can't do it, Charles. I can't send him anywhere.
Armand, he is not a child.
You don't understand. I cannot send him with you to America because I do not have the money.
Armand.
I made certain investments. Bad one. I didn't have Sita to advise me as in the old days. She knew how to manage things, that one. If she had lived, there would be money now and to spare.
She was a wise woman. Beautiful and wise.
And as frugal as I was extravagant. Charles, when I think of the money I spent when we were first married, I could have paid for his education 3 times over.
I wish I could help it. Well, I don't leave for 2 weeks or so. Perhaps something will turn up.
We are both men of science. We neither of us believe in miracles. Krishna will have to delay his education for a while, and I shall have to tell him so.
It'll break his heart.
And mine.
You are certain that this is the house?
Of course. But how badly the walls need whitening. Armand has let things go dreadfully. I'm afraid I shall have to scold him.
Still, it's a fine house.
I was very happy here.
Namaskar, my friends. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Can you be Krishna?
That is my name.
Oh, my son, Krishna, my son.
Forgive me, please. I do not mean to be discourteous, but who are you?
Well, I had hoped you might know. But how could you? You were not 2 weeks old when I left you, my son.
Don't call me that, please. This young lady has come all the way from Delhi to speak to Mr. Ahmed Vernoy. I shall take her to him. But I still must ask you not to call me your son.
I gave you life, my son.
Are you trying to tell me that you're my mother?
I am.
Father? Father?
Armand!
Yes, young lady.
My husband. It is I, Sita.
What?
I have come home to you.
Krishna, this is not some of those silly schoolboy joke.
It's no joke of my making. She says she is my mother.
Oh, no. His mother died when he was born.
Yes. 7 days later, my body did die.
It was? 7 days. Oh, Charles, I don't understand this. I don't like it.
One moment, old friend. If I might be permitted to question?
Surely, Professor Guncourt.
You told her my name?
No, sir.
Then how did you... Well, no matter. When did your body die?
August 21st, 1927. But Brahma permitted me to be born again and to come back now to my husband and my son.
No, I do not believe it.
My son, your father's heart knows that I speak the truth.
I don't know anything of the kind.
Do not be angry with me, Armand. I returned as soon as Brahma permitted me to remember.
To remember? Me?
Your name. I remembered your face always. How you crinkled your eyes when you smiled. How your mouth... Oh, my husband. You should not have done it.
Done what?
You should not have shaved off your mustache. Armand, it's so beautiful.
Well, thank you, my dear.
You've changed it so much. Armand, you've changed this room all around also. You never let me move one of your ashtrays.
Madame Naidu, when was she born?
On August 31st, 1928.
A year. And 10 days after Sita died. Oh, it can't be.
It is, Armand. I have been reborn.
I loved my wife very much. I would like it to be as you say, but you're a child.
I am Sita.
No, you are not.
My father, please tell her to go.
Krishna, my son.
I am not your son.
What must I say? What must I do to convince them?
Voyons, voyons, mon petit.
Oiseau? Mon petit oiseau.
What?
Petit oiseau. You used to call me that. Your little bird.
I did. Go now, child. Go with your mother and your friend. There is an hotel on Agra Street. Krishna will guide you.
No, it is much too expensive. We will go to the inn on the Drover's Road.
The hotel. I will pay.
My dear husband. Extravagant as always.
Go now with them, son.
Yes, my father.
This is not goodbye, Armand.
No. Au revoir. Until tomorrow.
I trust you'll find these rooms comfortable. May you rest well.
I'm sure that we shall. Thank you, my son.
Not at all, Miss Naidu. Madame Naidu, Mr. Mukherjee, good day.
Good day, Mr. Benoit.
Rama, do not be angry with him.
He thinks you're trying to play some kind of trick.
You did not believe me at first. Now you have opened your heart to the truth.
He won't.
When Armand accepts me, Krishna will also.
Mr. Vernoy is of another faith, my child. He may not be willing to believe.
He will. I know this.
A woman has no husband who puts her aside. A woman has no son who denies her.
I'm very tired. With your permission.
She has Sita's voice, the same music, the same rise and fall.
Oh, you just imagine that.
Mon petit oiseau, I did not imagine that.
It's a common endearment.
In French, Charles. The girl speaks no French.
Well, she could have heard the phrase somewhere. I tell you, there must be a rational explanation.
How can you explain a girl her age, knowing these intimate details?
Like your moustache?
Yes, my moustache. And the furniture in all the rooms. And the name of servant Sita kept 20 years ago.
Armand, unless you are prepared to believe in reincarnation...
I'm not.
Then we must find an explanation elsewhere.
If there is one?
We'll find it.
And if we don't?
But we will.
Charles, listen to me. If we can't find an explanation, and the girl still persists in her beliefs that she is Sita reborn, what am I to do?
Armand, you're not... You cannot be thinking of accepting this girl as your wife.
I don't know. I don't know. My son.
Have you decided what you'll do, what you'll say to this girl from Delhi?
Well, Professor Gonko and I have been talking about it.
But you have not decided.
No.
I have decided. I am sorry, my father. I cannot accept as a mother a girl who's no older than I am. If you take her into this house, I cannot stay. Not even for the 2 weeks remaining.
2 weeks?
Until I leave for America.
Oh, Krishna.
That is when we're going, you said.
That is what was planned, but your father feels perhaps that... Armand.
My son, I do not believe that you will be able to leave Mutra for a while.
Because of this foolish girl, you wish me to stay to please her.
Oh, no. It's something that happened before she came, months ago. I didn't know how to tell you.
There's not enough money.
I invested my savings unwisely. The war has ruined me.
So, I shall remain here in Mutra.
Perhaps not for long. Maybe I will be able to devise a way. I'm sorry, my son.
It's all right, my father. I wondered how you would arrange it. I knew things were not well with us.
When the war is over, you will see, we'll make up for lost time.
Of course, my father. But now, what will you do with this girl?
I'll send her away.
I thought I would be welcomed with gladness and joy.
You are my child. I can only bring myself to believe you are Sita.
I am my husband. I am.
It's no use, my child. Even if I could bring myself to believe, there is Krishna. He never could believe.
In time, perhaps.
No, I've hurt him enough.
You, my husband?
Only last night, we had to tell him, Professor Gonko and I, Krishna was to go to America with him to continue his studies at a great university.
He's a fine student. Shows great promise.
I can't send him to America. I don't have enough money.
Then that is why Brahma has sent me. I knew that I was needed.
I don't understand.
So that together we might help our son.
How?
You have forgotten your gifts to your bride? The jewels a Maharani would have been proud to wear?
Those are Sita's words. She wept when I gave them to her.
For joy, Armand. To have such riches against an evil day.
But they are gone. As if they never had been. When Sita left me...
The jewels remained, my husband, in this room.
What can I say to you?
Only what is in your heart.
No one but Sita could know where the jewels were. Only Sita could know what you know of me.
But you still do not believe.
My house is yours. I would like you to stay here as long as you wish.
Had it been Brahma's will, he would have opened your heart to me.
I just saw the girl leaving with her friend.
Yes, she's on her way back to Delhi.
And you're going to America, my son, with Professor Goncourt.
What? But how? You said you have no money.
I was wrong. Your mother just proved it.
Can a man doubt what his heart knows is true? Armand Verneuil was convinced beyond question that this child was his wife. But he was a wise man, as Santha was wise beyond her years. And their decision to part this time forever undoubtedly avoided future unhappiness for all concerned. As yet, we have no understanding of how incidents of this kind occur. Perhaps there is a reason for our not understanding. Please join me again for another journey into the world of the unexplainable which lies behind the veil. Good night.
Thank you.